red is China, number 2 on the map. The yellow is India. The green at the bottom is America. And if you see how things have changed and how in recent times China has started to take a much bigger economic pie. It is also symptomatic of how well it's starting to do on the defense and strategic industries field. This is a 2008 data. Probably the rapid change after 2008 financial crisis would have increased Chinese pie substantially. But this age-old young nation has also started to see a meteoric rise of our technology capability and our self-belief in last 10 years, 15 years. This has got a huge impetus after the new government brought in a very simple message for defense industry. And this was here in Bangalore, that Prime Minister in the Aero India 2005 first time said, we are the largest importers of defense equipment, but it is imperative that if we have to become and grow to become the second largest economy by 2030-35 and the second largest economy by 2050, we start to look at exporting defense capabilities and defense equipment. Now that's a sea change. That's a change of saying, I will own defense products, I will own capabilities, I will own the think tank and IP about it. And why is it important? Because defense is a cutting edge innovator of new ideas. Defense is next slide please. Defense is a force multiplier in terms of economic activity and the changing capabilities and ideas from the Pentium chip to internet to satellites, you name it. The ideas which have changed the world in last 50 years all started from the defense domain. They changed the way we live, we talk, we work. And this is important. And you need to have the intellectual capital to keep that capability, nurture it, and the capability remains in people. It's the skills, it's the key people, and how we interact and how we innovate. That gives you the strength. Next slide, please. This is an often repeated word, defense industrial base. John Kenneth Gallivan in 1960s-70s started to talk about America's defense industrial complex versus the Cold War defense industrial complex on the other side. At the heart of this is a fact that defense and strategic capabilities have to be in one hand and one hand alone. That's the national government's. Defense is a monopoly. Therefore, defense and its capability development as a national market is an absolute truth. And the support, and the word strategic industry comes from a very simple fact that just simple rules of commerce do not work here. For love or for money, there are certain technologies we will never get. We need to create that ourselves. And the word technology is a huge, big word. But what we really need and talk about, I mean, you may have the best technology to analyze some algorithms on data fusion, but if there is no camera which is using it and it is not in the hands of your field commander, it has of no use. So the products and the market. Now, there has been huge, in over last 10-15 years, there has been a change in terms of trying to move towards indigenous capabilities, indigenous defense equipment. And MOD has talked about and wanting to create this market through DPM, DPP, many ways. But the real strategic depth which any country gets is through its tierization of this capability of product capability, product conceiving capability into its engineering industry. Tierization is important. And tierization only gives you the strategic depth. Fortunately or unfortunately, with all our level playing field arguments, one capability, one thing which is missing in all our government is a very clear roadmap of how the defense industry will be the market maker role of MOD and the state governments. Because if this capability is to be standard and nurtured, it cannot be done on just simply saying that you become L1. And it's a national endeavor. I am glad to see and the support we have received in this very cluster from the state government of Karnataka trying to move some of the products forward. And today there is a session about one of the most successful indigenously developed product, Akash missile system. Why is it the most successful in the context I just said? Because it is not limited to a Bell or a BDL or a Tata Power or an L&T. There are 300 small and medium enterprises which are linked to that. It's talking about high-end metallurgy, it is talking about high-end mechanics, it is talking about mechatronics, it is talking about electronics, it is talking about rocket fuels, it's talking about propellants, and 300 industry. Now these are the people who create, and a large part of that is here and large part of that is in Hyderabad. And this is where we need to create a policy at the apex level, which very clearly says that we need to nurture these industries. ISRO's and Nuclear Corporation, when they were going through a lean patch in terms of construction capacity and things like that, they created their vendors and they kept them alive so that the capability doesn't die. In this country, you go and buy government is buying Akash or government is buying a Israeli system. It says L1 pe bitaiye, and you forget that in India, we are not bringing in the cost of infrastructure which is required, the cost of capital which is too high compared to any other place. Also, no country nowhere exports taxes. So, when you are looking at that piece, please look at the piece of creating and starting measuring based on real value addition, which is happening in the Indian industry. You will have to pay a little bit more. And that's a message to create that capability. Tomorrow, we may have this great thing called SP, but if the SP does not get strategic partnership and if that is not supported by the myriads of capabilities in the industry, then it will not move our defense capabilities forward at all. So the key to this is real value addition. This country has just seen the biggest tax reform about value addition, the GST. The day SP was announced, there was another very important announcement which was made, changes in GFR on capabilities to be created and measured for Indian value addition, and therefore the government would support Make India through that. We have a session on that too, and it is a very important step forward. So ladies and gentlemen, our charter is to not only engage on the issues of trying to get a small pie out of a very big pie for Indian industry. Our charter is to create the Indian industry which does real value addition together. It's no private, no public,